So today we have several new updates and information. So we'll talk a little bit about some new videos and support for folks who want to use Pressbooks Results, the H5P grade passback feature connected to your learning management system. We will show the new full screen option for when people are using Pressbooks inside the learning management system using LTI integration. We have a couple of smaller updates around our custom header and background, custom header background and header links. Some updates that we've been making there for folks that want to do their own customized styling. Some minor updates around SVG images and logos for accessibility purposes. And then we'll share information about some things we're doing to enable an OPDS feed and some broader updates that will benefit the Pressbooks directory as we go forward. We will talk about the accessibility checker functionality that we are working on and what's ahead with that. And then we want to have a conversation about some improvements in tools that you may have and use already, the Pressbooks directory and also the Pressbooks community forum. And then we'll wrap up. We just a reminder about some of the research opportunities that we are exploring now and upcoming events, conferences, training, and so forth. And then hopefully we'll have a few minutes to hear from you around roundtable for projects and things that you'd like to mention and share with this group. So with all of that in mind, Steele, I think we're leading off with you.
Yeah, sure. So I think we've talked about Pressbooks results many times, but it is fall term for a lot of people. And so it's the time of year when instructors are getting back into their courses and bringing their textbooks and other content in. So Pressbooks results lets you take Pressbooks chapters, bring them into your LMS, and if they have been configured for grading, it will send grades to the gradebook and show you the drill down view. We provided training now for the first time, short, under half an hour. We show faculty how they can go from never having used this to using this with students and all of its features. Those were successful. We had them with all four major LMSs in the last week or two, and the recordings for those are now available on YouTube. If you want to share more information with your faculty about what Pressbooks Results is, there's a page on our website, and we can drop the link in the chat. And if you want to watch the videos or share the videos for the LMS that you and your colleagues teach with, those are available on our YouTube channel with more shorter chunked videos coming soon. So that's what we did and what we're doing. If you have any questions about Pressbooks results or you have instructors that are using it and have any questions, I think you know how to reach us. But so far, this semester's been off to a good start, and it sounds like there's quite a lot of people that are happily discovering the product.
Yeah. Steele, you've been doing the LMS specific trainings. You've had pretty good participation in those this past.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we had uh, I think it probably is proportional to what LMSs are being used by our various clients, but we have people that are using Canvas, we have people using Blackboard, people using D2L Brightspace, and people in Moodle. Um, so there were people from all of those and that were there in the training sessions and interested, and the videos are now available for each of those.
All right. Any questions for Steele on that? Okay, we will keep going. Steele, I think you're also gonna.
Yeah, and so let me just share my screen and kind of demonstrate this. But the concept is it when you're in Pressbooks and you're in a Pressbooks book, and I'll just show two ways of example. Here, if I send someone to this website and I want to read the book, it's really helpful to have this structured like a book. And here you can see there's a table of contents, and I can scroll through and navigate. Here's the title of the book. Here's all the navigation elements I need to find my way around the book. That's what you want in the reading interface for the book. But if I want to put this book into the LMS, I don't necessarily want all of this other contextual information. I don't want them wandering off and reading the Creating OER availability and usability chapter when I've assigned them to do introduction to open educational resources, for example. And so one of the challenges is the LMS has its own navigation menu and it has its own logic to it. And so we want to remove all of the extraneous, potentially distracting stuff and focus on just delivering the content through the LMS view. And so that's the change that we've shipped and made now. I don't Historically we always show this in Canvas, but Canvas is not our favorite LMS, so I will show it in a different LMS. This is also not our favorite LMS, but this is in D2L Brightspace. So here you can see I've launched, let's go back and let's look. Here in the table of contents, I have all the stuff that I can do in a course, and then I might come to the graded activities chapter, and then I'm going to launch this Pressbooks link. This is an LTI link. And previously what we would do is we would launch the LTI link and then we would use CSS to suppress all of the navigation stuff. And it was kind of a book option. And it worked okay, except when people didn't suppress it or when it would flash briefly on the screen and then disappear. And so that's not the ideal or the optimal experience for users. And so we've created a new view, a new LTI view that will show just the content and load just the content. And when my D2L course responds, I shouldn't have shifted out of that page. I should have just stayed there the whole time. When I'm screen sharing, everything loads slower. So maybe I will have to go back to Canvas and show you Canvas. Oh dear.
Wade is asking, what is your favorite LMS?
My favorite, oh, you asking me personally, Wade? If I were to teach and pick an LMS, I would pick Canvas. Take that out of the recording. Uh, but I like all my children. I would say if I had multiple children. Okay, so let me share the screen. Sorry. So here what you're seeing is this is just the Pressbooks content. And because I'm an author in the book, I see the edit button. But this is the view, and there's no table of contents, there's no other navigation elements, and you can still see, depending on the LMS design, there still might be quite a lot of cognitive load extraneous stuff happening. And so in Pressbooks now, there's this simple full screen button, toggle full screen. And I can say, I'm still in the LMS setting. I'm still in this, but I've just removed all the cognitive load and the distractors. And if I want, I can leave this at any time by clicking the X button or exit out. So we've added a little full screen toggle button so that if you don't want to see all this other junk, you can just go into like distraction-free mode and leave distraction-free mode. So that's the change that we made there with the LTI launch. Um, Great work on that, by the way, Oz. Thank you. I don't know if there are any questions about that. I see something in the chat. What is the favorite LMS? The one that works, exactly. Okay. The next thing that we wanted to talk about is uh, changes that you can make to the heading of your network. So when you have a Pressbooks network, a lot of our clients say, we have branding and style guidelines and we want to be able to customize things. And so in the root theme, Aldine, there is a customizer, and there's all these colors that you can customize. So you can set your link colors, or you can set your primary and secondary colors to look like the branded values of your institution. And with custom CSS, people are like, oh yeah, we can also modify the header. So some people would make their header look like their university header by modifying the CSS. The problem was if you did it via custom CSS, it looked great all across your root site, but then you would go to a book on your network and the book would look different. The header would not be inherited. You'd have to add the same custom CSS to every single book on your network. And that's not obviously a sustainable solution. So there's now an option here where you could set your own custom background color. So let's change this to this gray color. And I'm going to change the links of the header colors to be a dark green. And you notice as I'm choosing these colors, it's warning me if I don't quite have sufficient color contrast. So Pressbooks is detecting, oh, now I've reached a level this is past the 4.5 to 1 threshold that's recommended by WCAG. This is a safe combination to use. I'll make that a little bit lighter. Maybe I like the colors. I like EEE as the color. So it's like a very light gray. I've set that as the header background and I've set this dark green, maybe make it a little lighter here. So it's a little bit more discernible as green. And I'm going to publish that. Those are my brand colors. And you'll notice there's a subtle distinction, but there's a subtle gray here in the background, and the links in the header are now all green. The nice part about this is if I'm on the network dashboard, let me just refresh this. This is the root site. You'll see that change has been implemented. When I go through into my mobile menu, you'll see, oh, this also looks nice, and I'm using those colors there. And the best part is at the book level, I'm going to refresh my book, and you'll see the book has also inherited those color and change values. So I've changed it one place, and it changes uniformly across the network. So that had been requested for a long time by folks, and now that's possible. You can do that. The last thing to mention are relatively minor accessibility improvements, but there are, and I'll just show the screen on this. There's several places in the Pressbooks interface where we'll present links that then the display is an SVG icon. So here's an example of a LinkedIn logo that links to your LinkedIn profile or a YouTube or the Pressbooks logo. These logos or images are all SVG images and they're inside of links. And we were not using consistent accessible markup for all of the SVG icons that appeared in links in the same consistent way. And so we've changed that so they're now all in the same consistent accessible pattern. They'll be announced properly to screen readers and it won't be confusing and people will understand what the link is and the icon will not be a distraction or a hindrance to that. So that was a change that we made in the recent release.
All right, thank you, Steele. Any questions on those items? All right. In the slide navigation, so Steele was speaking about things that are part of the slides, and so I'll just page through the slides. We'll try and get those posted so that if you want the slides on any of these with some background information, you'll have those. So we have the LTI full screen view, the custom header background and header links, the SVG image updates, and now we come to our current topic, which is the OPDS feed, and how it is going to be impacting some of the backend work that we're doing on the Pressbooks directory. So, OPDS, those of you who are librarians probably know this, but it's an open publication distribution system. It's a standard format that's used to kind of catalog and make available download electronic publications and make them available for download. It's used commonly in kind of like mobile applications or things that you want to display the electronic resources for your library public and make them more available. And so we've had requests from some of our discoverability partners and also from some clients to make Pressbooks metadata, specifically whether it's their own publications or the broader Pressbooks directory metadata, available and to do it in this format so that so that libraries can broaden, I guess, the discoverability of their Pressbooks collections there. So we've been working on this, and as part of this work, there's also some broader backend work we've been doing on the Pressbooks directory that will ultimately make it more flexible and valuable as a resource generally. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But we are just making these updates available. In fact, I think this one went live today. And so Oz is going to share with us, do a quick demo for us of what this looks like. So, Oz, do you want to go ahead and share your screen?
Yes. So it's gonna be kind of like a quick demo for that, but yes. All right. So all right, so I think you can see here the directory screen. So you will notice the directory, it's kind of like the same, but under the hood, it has like a different technology and it allows us to have like more powerful tools to build like OPDS feeds or other kind of like formats. So as you can see here, we now have like a URL accessible to everyone that can just slash OPDS in our directory, and you will have like a JSON OPDS validated feed that you can consume. It's paginated, so you can consume it like programmatically or with any tool. So it works. It will work with any OPDS feed reader. So now you can get like the updated directory information with this schema. So injection and EMG department's voice. So yeah, that's actually that's it. So I don't know if there are like any questions or um, doubts about this.
Yeah, thank you, Oz.
I have a quick question on this.
Yeah,
The
go ahead.
slide says the directory will contain the OPDS feed, but you're at the live URL. Does that mean it does now? And this just went live?
Yes, yes,
Oh,
yes.
cool. I'll
It's
update our slide.
yeah, it's now available to everyone.
Okay,
So yeah.
super. One of the things that we're curious about, like one of the client requests is saying, well, we want to have the stuff that we have built in Pressbooks available as part of our electronic collection. And OPDS is a fee that they want to use to make those books available in a mobile application that their library patrons use to find resources. So if you're interested in projects like that, let us know if you've got questions about how you might tap into that. And then we're excited for additional updates and improvements that the back end of the directory will enable as we go forward. All right. Thank you, Oz. We will keep going.
No problem.
All right. Next, we're going to talk about and show you some coming soon functionality. So last year in our customer satisfaction survey, the top number one, hands down, most requested thing was an accessibility checker. And so we've had been doing research and exploring how to do that most effectively. We are now in the process of integrating editorially as a supported accessibility checker tool. The current plan is first, we will have an author tool available, so that will allow you to check the accessibility, or allow authors to check accessibility as they are building or editing content. So it will provide flags as content is going in to hopefully help the authors make better choices and produce more accessible content. We also plan to provide a more of a kind of a network manager or a network monitoring tool. The way that editorially works, it creates those flags when you open up each page of a book. That's great when you're building. That's a nightmare if you have a body of content that's already been created because you have to go in and every single page to have it do that scan. So to make that easier, we are also planning and designing a background monitoring tool that could be run on multiple books or your whole network that does a background scan and then produces those accessibility reports to allow you to kind of prioritize and manage accessibility of that work. Both of these will be available as add-on features in a new content quality toolkit they will be introducing soon. And they are going to be, there's an additional fee associated with those to allow us to offer the support and maintenance for those new features, but only charge people who are going to be using them. We don't have the pricing finalized yet, but are trying to make that as low and affordable as possible. So we will have that available probably within the next couple of weeks. So we're hoping that within, by mid-September-ish, we'll have the stuff in place, both the detail around it as well as a trial period where people can try this out. For each of these new add-on tools, we will be introducing it with a free trial period. A month or so is what we're anticipating right now. Network manager opt-in will be required. We don't want to turn this on if you have no intention of making it available for your end users, because that would just be confusing and annoying for you and for them. So we will have that check-in process, and then we'll activate it. You can try it for free for a window and then decide if that's something that you want to continue using. And of course, we'll be demonstrating it and giving you the opportunity to see it and try it out that way as well. So, with all of that, let's see. The question: will there be a fee for both the author tool and the network monitoring tool? Yes, they are going to be priced separately. The author tool is something that we can offer that's sort of one price with no tiering because it basically is just something, that the authors, they when they're using it, it's activated. The network monitoring tool will have a tier pricing structure because the cost to us is directly related to the kind of the volume of scanning and basically it's tied to the number of books that are used for that. And so the pricing will be separate, but it will be annual. So it will be an annual fee associated with that. And for this first year, what we're anticipating is if you do want to move forward with those, we will prorate the cost. And so we'll just turn it on. We won't invoice you right away. We will attach that when you renew so that people don't have to go through a hassle of extra kind of invoicing cycles to try and lower the headache associated with that for you and for Pressbooks. Okay. Timing wise, yes, the fee structure we will have available for you for each of the pieces. So the author tool, we actually have a pricing, but our CEO is on vacation this week, so we couldn't get the approval for it, but are planning to have that available. When we start the free trial, we will give you, here's the free trial information, and here's what the cost structure is. So you will have that in advance and be able to have the fee structure as part of your decision about whether whether you want to turn it on and try it out or not. We are hoping to have the author tool available and the free trial activated before the end of September, and would anticipate that the free trial would probably go till November 1st-ish. And we're still waiting on the kind of the research from the tech team to come back before we can give an estimate on the network monitoring tool. But our hope is that we will have that also available this fall, probably in the October or November timeframe. And I will note that you will have to have the author tool if you want the network monitoring tool. You don't have to have the network monitoring tool if you only want the author tool. The network monitoring tool is available because it's the same engine that's driving both of them, and it's not really feasible to only have the network monitoring tool and not have the authoring tool. Okay. And the cost proportion, I will say the author tool is we're trying to make it very affordable, and so that should low enough that it's not an impediment for anyone. So. Okay. So keep the questions coming. I will monitor those, and I'm going to stop sharing here. We're going to have Ricardo, I believe, do a demonstration of what this looks like in Pressbooks. So I will stop sharing and turn it over to him.
Sure. So I will share my screen now to show the author tool progress tech team is doing. Sharing here. Yes, right. So you will see I have a couple of testing networks here. So you will see here I have the accessibility, the editorially plugin enabled in a standard Pressbook network. So when you visit a chapter, for example, in this case, you will see I have two alerts. This is the typical editorially plugin functionality. So you will be able to navigate through the different issues, the accessibility issues reported for this particular chapter in the web view of this chapter. And so you will be able to, mark as okay or ignore it or fix it, which would be ideally. But if you go to edit this chapter to fix those, let's say we'll go to the edit section part. So you will notice that you will find hard to remember for larger chapters what was the issue, what were the issues. So it's kind of, and also you can add more contents here. So you don't have a clear way with editorially at the moment using the TinyMC, the classic editor, WordPress editor, to see what the issues are and how to fix them when you are writing a chapter or fixing one of the accessibility issues reported by editorially. So one of the research we did in collaboration with the editorially plugins author was to integrate this into the Pressbooks editor, the classic Pressbook editor. So you will see this is another example. So I have editorial enabled in a different network, and this has 14 accessibility issues. So I can navigate through them as usual. But then if I want to fix them or edit the chapter to add more content and make sure the content I'm adding is still accessible, fully accessible, you will see here, you will find the issues here in the editor. You'll see here them just like you saw in the web version of it. And as well at the end, you will find the classic icon, the editorial icon, to navigate through them as well from here. So you will be able to fix them. But as well, if you are writing or editing the content, let's say this is a link, I'm creating a non-accessible link, pressbooks.com, and I will select this as a link here. As you will see immediately, editorial will identify that this is not fully accessible. So you can fix that immediately and continue creating the content or editing the content and making sure that that's accessible. So yeah, that's the progress we are doing. We need to still do a little more of work on the author tool to make it a fully working version, but we are getting a good progress here.
All right, thank you, Ricardo. I think when we brought this up last month, we told you that we thought when we had the preview of this tool that it would still be the two-screen version, and that's what Ricardo had shared initially, that you have to look at one screen to tell you where the editorially flags are, and then go into your editor and change them separately. And so we were delighted and excited that we could actually figure that piece out much sooner than we expected. And so when we introduce the preview to you, that will all be happening. All of that will be visible in the visual editor. So that will be a much better user experience for your authors. Okay, Lauren asks, will the content quality toolkit include anything in addition to the accessibility checking? So I'll address that for everyone. So we are also working on a broken link checker that will be part of it. We hope to have that available this fall as well. Beyond that, we have some ideas, but haven't committed to other things. Part of it is the evaluation of there's some updates that we want to do and figure out ways to do and can offer it as a not an add-on thing. And then there are other things that we need to assess, the cost, is there value? Like one of the ideas that we've talked about is to have an alt text generator, an AI driven alt text generator inside to help authors as they're going through. Anything AI is going to have some added extra cost. And so that's the kind of thing that we would need to assess. Is there really value there? Is there, what's happening? And, where is there really appetite? And where are there things where it makes sense for us to figure out, how do we incorporate things that that we can sustain with no added cost versus things that we do need to charge extra for in order to assure the sustainability. So Cheryl's asking, if we opt to add the accessibility tools, will the link checker be included? The link checker will be priced separately. So the add-on toolkit will be kind of a Chinese menu where if you want everything, there will be a more advantageous price. If you only want the link checker and you don't need the accessibility stuff, you can only pay for that item. And so we want to make sure there are folks that don't need the accessibility stuff because they have other tools that their institution is invested in. And so we acknowledge that and want to make sure that we're only charging people for the stuff that they're going to use. But if you want all of the things in the toolkit, that we anticipate that there will be a package pricing that makes that advantageous. Okay, any other questions on that? Okay. Thank you, Ricardo. Thank you for the work on that project. We are excited about being able to get that accessibility tool available for people. Okay, the next topic, I want to take just a moment, and here I'm going to make sure that I've got the chat window visible because I want to ask you to I want to ask you to respond via chat for a couple of these questions. We are, as Oz shared, we've been working on the back end behind the Pressbooks directory and know that there's some quirkiness in it, there's some issues in it that we want to address, and we have some broader designs on things that we'd like to do for that tool. With that, I wanted to just get some quick feedback from this group. We'll probably come back and want to do a deeper discussion about things that you'd like to see with Pressbooks Directory as we are formulating more specifics on what we want to do.
Julie,
Yeah.
we're seeing your email.
Seeing the email. Okay, let me stop that. I shared the wrong screen. Thank you for that. That's sort of like sharing my like
Don't
my
worry, there's
my,
nothing.
my messy closet or something like that, right?
Only 6,000 unread emails, Julie?
Okay. So now you're saying the right thing. Okay. So first off, I'm curious to know how often you visit the Pressbooks directory. So is this something that you use as a resource daily, weekly, monthly, occasionally, or never? So if you don't mind adding your feedback in the chat, I'd love to see what that looks like. All right. Thank you, Linda. All right. Okay. So it's good to know so this is a regular tool. So for some people, daily, weekly, for some it's more weekly, monthly, or seasonal. So super helpful. And yes, Oz, it's good to see that you're there on a regular basis too. Um, and then related to that, how often are you pointing people to the Pressbooks directory? And we know for some people, they themselves may not use it a lot, but you may be pointing your community there. Okay. So similarly, so something a lot of folks are saying it's a regular resource. It's something that's there. This is helpful because one of my questions was, is this audience who comes here using this tool very much? And are you the right people for us to be asking about improvements you'd like to see? Okay. And so what this tells me is that for the most part, this is a regular part of stuff that you do. And so you're the right audience for us to be asking. Um, so my last, I'm just going to kind of then, because in the interest of time, I want to make sure that I'm giving Steele a little time for what he'd like to talk about next. Any high level suggestions or kind of wish list items that you'd like to put on our radar about directory improvements that you'd like to see? If you want to think about that, you can voice that if you want to speak up, or you can add that to the chat. And if you can't think of anything, then that's okay too. Oh, a filter for books with hypothesis enabled. All right. Lauren, there is a filter for a number of hypothesis activities.
Oh, H5P.
Or sorry, H5P activities, hypothesis enabled. Okay, that's a different thing. Yes, thank you. It's the H words. So okay, super. That's a good addition. Thank you. a way to link different versions or volumes of a title together. Yes, we actually had an interesting conversation about the possibilities of doing that in the future today, searching for clones and how to get books, clones of books, icon to indicate the parent book of clone as opposed to clone books. All right, thank you. It's good to know that parents and clone relationship is important. And again, this is the kind of thing like some of the back end improvements that Oz is talking about with the directory start to make some of that kind of thing possible in a way that has not been previously. So great to hear all of that. Okay, thank you. Keep thinking about these. Oh, yeah, the metadata problem. Um, Metadata is on our radar as something that we want to do. We want to help authors do a lot better with. And so I want to say, watch that space. We'll have a lot more to say about that in the coming months. And trying to make sure we're kind of stepping up the game around metadata and that user experience for everybody. Okay. And thank you it's good to know that you feel like our keyword searching is doing pretty well. Happy to hear that. Okay. Thank you for that quick take on Pressbooks directory stuff. Steele, why don't I turn things over to you for the next part?
Yeah, thanks, Julie. The other thing that is on our minds right now is the Pressbooks Community Forum. So let me share my screen and kind of lay out what we know the problem is here. So a problem with the community forum is it was established 10 years ago and the categories haven't changed since then. And many users come to the forum and they find the forum confusing and hard to navigate. If you want proof, just open the development category. That's supposed to be about developer stuff and development tools and processes, but guess what it actually is? It's just people asking help and support questions about Pressbooks. So like we set up these categories imagining that's how people would use them, and it's not in fact at all how people use them. And so you come here and you're like, oh, there's so much, it's confusing, or you put something in the wrong place and then don't know where to find it, and that happens all the time. The other thing that we've discovered is over time, initially we established a private group called Pressbooks Clients, and that was for network managers to join. But unless you're logged in, you don't see it. And so many network managers will come to the forum looking for questions that they have and then not find them because they didn't log in and they didn't join the private group. At this point, I think it's pretty clear it's unnecessary barrier that's limiting the usefulness of the forum for people like you in attendance. So the goal that we have is we want to restructure the forum with a focus on simplicity and usability. Categories are going to focus less on what a conversation is about. Inside of a category, you have topics. That's what the conversation can be about. And more on who the discussion is for. And so we have a proposal, or we have some proposed categories that we're thinking about. The new forum will look much simpler. There will be a Pressbooks product updates category. Guess what you'll find there? And then you'll have a using Pressbooks category. The idea is that the audience for this will be end users that have questions about things that they want to do or are trying to do or are struggling to do with Pressbooks. They ask each other and answer each other. There'll be a category for you called administering Pressbooks networks or something like that. That will be mainly for people who are network and institutional managers. The questions you have are often very different than the questions someone who's writing a book has. That would replace that private Pressbooks clients category or group. There'll be a category called installing and hosting Pressbooks. This will be for sysadmins or people that are hosting their own open source. And then there's a category that would be called contributing to Pressbooks, which would be for people who are software developers or translators who are actually trying to contribute to code or have questions about making the software product. So this is kind of what we're thinking about the category structure. And the question that we have for this group is, what suggestions do you have about ways that to make this forum more welcoming or more useful to you or your end users?
One idea I have, because I find these meetings, the product update meetings, really helpful, but they're often really dense with information. So perhaps if the forum could like have a space for each meeting, and rather than the notes being in that Google Doc, there would be like a
Topic that could be
place
discussed.
where we could go and discuss what is being reviewed here because there's so many topics, and I'm curious what other network managers are thinking about how they might implement the updates or, you know, um, change policies or whatever. So, because I think what I would like is more conversation around like as a network manager, what choices am I making about my own network, and getting advice or ideas from other network managers around that. But it's hard timing wise. We're all so busy.
And
So it
meetings
feels
are
like
over
this meeting is like an opportunity for that, but there's not time for as much conversation. So maybe the forum could have a space that's linked to the meeting somehow.
Thanks, Lauren. I like that suggestion a lot. Like each of these community or each of these meetings could have its own topic, and there could be threads of conversation or questions, and it could be arranged in lots of different ways. But that is an interesting idea, and Alia applauds it as well. Scott asked, "How would the developer community forum differ from issues and discussions in GitHub?" Well, what I'm imagining there, Scott, is kind of two things. One is the forum itself will present like a getting started. There'll be a pin conversation that's like a starting point. That's like, here are the various ways to get started contributing to Pressbooks. And often what happens is developers come to us with this isn't working or this question. If they're asking those in GitHub already, that's great. They don't need the community forum. But a lot of people aren't asking us in GitHub. They're dumping it in the forum and don't know where to put it. And so this would be a place that you can see questions that have been asked and answered in this public space. Yeah.
I was thinking about, I sometimes find like a small bug that maybe it's an actual bug, maybe I'm just making a mistake, or a gap in documentation, where maybe the network guide just hasn't been updated yet. And I'm never sure where I should be putting that. If that goes in the forum, if
Me
that goes
neither.
straight to support, if that's a GitHub issue. And so I would like some clarity around where stuff like that goes,
That's a
especially around documentation.
we should definitely do that, especially if you have feedback about the guide. I'll talk. Our head of support is on vacation this week, but I will check in with him and mention this request. Um, Mitch, who's also a frontline support specialist here, is in the call. I don't know, Mitch, if you have thoughts or suggestions that you would give offhand for what someone like Alia should do.
I would say, like, if you're in doubt, just send an email to premium support. We'll guide you in the right direction and either file it for you or point you to where to ask. So, like, just don't hesitate. We're happy to do that.
I like that answer. Thanks, Mitch. Did I miss anything in the chat, or are there any other questions or suggestions that you have about or feedback about proposed changes to the forum? All right, well, the forum I think will be changing soon, and we'll send you notices and announcements, and it will be evolving. It's been a long time since the forum's had any structural changes, and so it may not be all fixed all at once, but hopefully it'll start moving in a direction that feels better to everybody.
All right, thank you, Steele. I will share my screen to put up the last couple of slides here of the forum improvements. Okay, in terms of research, so we are doing the user experience design around the broken link checker, and our designer, Michelle, is doing research sessions with folks. We're still interested in more people who might be open to that. So if you or some of your end users might be interested, send them to Michelle. And this is something we do offer a $25 thank you for the time on those. They tend to be maybe 30 to 45 minutes. We also are having conversations with folks about micro-credential style learning. We are working on a prototype project with the Maricopa Community College District. If you have a colleague interested in this topic, shoot me a note and we'd love to chat with you about that. And in terms of conferences and training, we have our regular monthly training sessions coming up in September. You can find those also on our website. And we have a couple of other events coming up. So September 17th, we're doing a jointly hosted session with OE Global and CCC OER on vocational publishing with Pressbooks. And we have some faculty and folks involved in projects. I think the Washington State Board for Community and Technical Colleges will be presenting, and there may be another group presenting as well. And just talking about what's different in doing vocational publishing in the OER space. And then we will be at the Open Education Conference in Denver in person and virtually. And so if you're planning to attend that event, we will hopefully see you and find ways to connect. Okay. We have 1 minute left for the roundtable. So I'm going to stop sharing. But if anybody has projects to share, questions, anything you want to put out there, we can stay on for another couple of minutes. All right. Everybody's too busy with back to school to do other things, perhaps. So, okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming. I will post the slides from this deck in the chat one more time. So if anybody wants that, or if you want to share that, you have it. We'll also try and get those posted when we get the recording transcribed. By the way, we had a miscommunication, and last month's recording had not been sent to the transcriber, and so it has not been posted, but we will get that posted so it's there for reference along with this one. So look out for that next week. And with that, have a great Labor Day weekend. Labor Day is one of the holidays that the US and Canada share, and Pressbooks being a Canada-based institution or organization, it's kind of fun to have a long weekend that everybody gets equally in the team. So we hope that you're also looking forward to a great long weekend. And we will look forward to seeing you next month, if not sooner. Okay, thanks everybody.